NASCAR's next-gen vehicle promised a new age of racing with strict rules on part changes. But teams are still feeling the heat from NASCAR's ruthless regulation a year later. Join us as we delve into the ongoing drama of NASCAR's attack on single-source suppliers and the impact it's having on the sport's biggest teams. But before that, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for more whereabouts on NASCAR. With the introduction of the next-gen vehicle in the 2022 season, NASCAR modified its penalty system to include considerably severe repercussions for violations, including the revocation of playoff status, particularly with regard to changing parts from single-source suppliers. Most of the new model car is made up of parts that come from a single source. This means that individual teams don't have to spend as much money developing and making their own. Nevertheless, just 4 races into the 2023 season, NASCAR handed down heavy penalties to 5 Cup teams on Wednesday for making prohibited alterations to the hood louvers of their vehicles. All 4 Hendrick Motorsports teams and 1 Kaulig Racing squad were among those hit with the sanctions. Vents. The number 5 team with driver Kyle Larson, the number 24 team with driver William Byron, the number 48 team with driver Alex Bowman, all from Hendrick, and the number 31 team with driver Justin Haley were all docked 100 driver points, 100 owner points, and 10 playoff points respectively for their violation. Chase Elliott's number 9 vehicle, which was also from HMS, received a penalty that deducted 100 owner points and 10 playoff points. However, Elliott did not receive any driver points because he is not currently driving the car while he recovers from an injury. In addition, each of the 5 crew chiefs of the individual teams received a fine of $100,000 and a suspension of 4 races for themselves. So what were the reasons for the penalties? The violation was noted as Section 6.1.A, Time, Manner, Location, 14.1 C and D and Q Overall Assembled Vehicle Regulations, 14.5.4.2.A, Radiator Duct Note, Unapproved Modification of a Single-Source Vendor-Supplied Item, Hood louvers. Hood louvers are vents that are installed in the hood of every vehicle produced by a given manufacturer. These vents operate as a release point for ducts that carry air away from the radiator. The usage of vents eliminates the need for teams to tape up the front grille of the car, which was a common practice in earlier generations of race cars for the purpose of making substantial adjustments to the vehicle's performance. NASCAR inspectors found problems with the hood louvers on all 4 HMS vehicles during the initial inspection that took place on Friday at Phoenix Raceway. These cars were the number 5 driven by Larson, the number 9 driven by Barry, the number 24 driven by Byron, and the number 48 driven by Bowman. They were given to the teams to use during practice, and then they were taken away. Prior to Saturday's qualifying session, the teams were given permission to make adjustments to the louvers. In addition, prior to Cup qualifying the previous Saturday, NASCAR took the hood louvers off Kaulig's number 31 Chevrolet. It was okay for the team to replace them and continue competing in the time trials. All of the louvers were transported to the Research and Development Center that NASCAR maintains in Concord, North Carolina, in order to undergo additional analysis. NASCAR revised its penalty system to include tougher punishments for violations, including the withdrawal of playoff eligibility, in particular with regard to changing parts from single-source suppliers, in addition to the launch of the next-gen vehicle in the 2022 season. As we move forward in the video, tell us in the comments what you think about the new penalty system of NASCAR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button for more updates. During the previous season, hefty penalties were handed out to Front Row Motorsports, Roush Fenway Racing, and Stewart-Haas Racing for modifying sole-source supplied parts, and several teams received penalties for modifying parts that came from a single-source supplier. And Joe Gibbs Racing had a pair of vehicles banned from the Pocono race for having additional tape on the nose of their cars, driven by Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch. When Elton Sawyer, the senior vice president of racing for NASCAR, was asked if the organization was shocked that it was still dealing with this issue a year later, he responded, "I don't know if the term is surprised, maybe I'll use disappointed. Ever since the very beginning of this project with the next-gen car, working with the garage and the owners on what the determined model needs to be, we have made it abundantly clear that it's NASCAR's obligation to ensure that we uphold that. We're going to keep doing what it is that we need to do in order to keep this car in check. It is for the benefit of our sport, as well as the economic model, and it is our obligation to ensure that this practice is maintained." Sawyer stated that NASCAR does, on occasion, let teams modify a single-sourced item in order to assist in it fitting properly on the car. However, Sawyer stated that this was not the case in the current scenario, and in his opinion, this was a strong reminder to the teams. According to what he said, "It was evident to us that these parts had been modified in regions that weren't allowed. This is a similar penalty to what we had to deal with last year with other competitors. Sawyer further gave a warning to the teams, stating, "We felt there is no other way to keep the garage on an even playing field and keep the competition where it needs to be. With all the talk about this car last year and working with the owners to figure out what the deterrent model should be, we were put in a position where we felt there was no other way but to write a penalty in order to be sure that this type of violation may not occur in the future." Throughout the first 4 races of the season, HMS driver William Byron has won 2 of them, and he and his teammate Kyle Larson have led a combined 510 laps as they head into this weekend's race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But Hendrick and Colleague gave it some resistance. Hendrick Motorsports issued a statement on Wednesday afternoon saying that it would appeal the penalties, but that it would not defer the 4 race suspensions that were given to each of its team's crew chiefs. It has not yet made any announcements on replacements. According to HMS's statement, the following will serve as the basis for their appeal. Louvers that were distributed to teams through NASCAR's mandated single-source supplier do not match the design that was presented by the manufacturer and accepted by NASCAR. The sanctioning body specifically connected to louvers communicated in a manner that was documented as being inconsistent and unclear. NASCAR's most recent equivalent penalties have been connected to issues uncovered during a post-race inspection. It has been decided by Colleague that they will also file an appeal. They have issued a statement that says, "Colleague Racing will appeal the L2 penalty problems that were issued by NASCAR following the confiscation of a louver that was found on number 31 Chevy at Phoenix Raceway this past weekend. Before qualifying on Saturday, only one of the 2 louvers on the number 31 car was taken away. This shows that the parts NASCAR's single-source supplier gave to teams aren't always the same, giving them no competitive advantage. We are going to submit a request to postpone the suspension of the crew chief until after the appeal hearing." But, among the penalties assessed to the 5 teams, a more surprise penalty was assessed to Denny Hamlin. Hamlin said openly on his podcast, Actions Detrimental, that he intentionally hit Chastain into the wall during the last restart of the race. The 2 drivers have been fighting since June of last year, and they have run into each other in several races since then. So NASCAR has decided to punish Hamlin. He will lose 25 driver points and have to pay a $50,000 fine. When deciding on the penalties, the body in charge of punishments used the parts of the rulebook, Section 4.4, NASCAR Member Code of Conduct. B. Attempting to alter how the race or championship turns out, crumbling or spinning another car, even if it doesn't get taken out of competition as a result. D. Actions by a NASCAR member that NASCAR thinks is bad for stock car racing or NASCAR. The first time the 2 drivers ran into each other was at Gateway last summer. After that, they ran into each other several times, including at Atlanta Motor Speedway and Pocono Raceway. In fact, Hamlin was the one Chastain took out of the playoffs, when he famously drove into the Championship 4 at Martinsville by riding the wall. In the 2023 season's first race, an exhibition race in Los Angeles, Chastain spun Hamlin, which caused another accident. It's no surprise that NASCAR is all about collisions and drama, but what happens afterward is what really matters. So stay tuned to our channel for more news about NASCAR. That's all we've got for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think of the video in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in the upcoming video.